What's up guys, it's BenImparts here. Welcome to yet another episode of this Cryptid cast series where I break down cryptids, their sightings, their possibilities, what they could or couldn't be and if they could be real or not. And today we have the moa, a gigantic flightless bird that was, or maybe still is, native to New Zealand. There were 9 different varieties that ranged from the size of turkeys to being even larger than ostriches. The one we're going to narrate here in particular is the South Island giant moa, which would grow up to 12 feet and weigh up to 250 kilograms. These birds were actually the largest land animals in New Zealand, and they were often found in forests, shrubs, and the lower ranges of mountainous areas, including the plateaus below them. Ironically, the moa's main meal was other birds. Its main meal came from the Haast eagle, which in turn is the biggest eagle in history. According to the official history, both these creatures became extinct about 700 years ago, surprise surprise, when humans arrived. And of course, their main cause of extinction was people overhunting them, as well as people bringing new mammals and other creatures that ate the eggs. However, sightings of the moa have continued throughout the years. Many people believe that the moa survived in New Zealand to this day, and boy, have the sightings continued. In the 1820s, a man called George Pawley claimed to have seen a bird 20 feet high by a southern South Island lake. Walter Buller, a writer, claimed the local Maoris would talk about a large kiwi that lived in the Chatham Islands until 1835, when it's presumed to have died. In the 1840s, John Gould, a bird painter, who obviously knows what he's talking about, also said he saw giant kiwis on South Island. And the kiwi, of course, looks like the moa. As if to make this better, he claimed they were a metre tall and had spurred feet, which is just like the moa, which had several smaller species as well as a larger one, some being as small as turkeys and some being 3 feet plus. In 1842, a mechanic called William Colenso claimed he was informed by a mechanic who had recently been around Cloudy Bay that the moa was definitely thriving in the Kakikora Ranges still. One night, he claimed, 2 Americans, along with a Maori guide, took weapons and ascended the mountains to the place where these birds live, where, at the natives' request, they hid themselves behind some bushes. Presently, they saw the monster majestically stalking down in search of food. They were, however, so petrified with horror at the sight as to be utterly unable to fire. They observed the bird for near an hour, then they left. He said these were the large species of moa, some 14 or 16 feet high. And it gets even better, because in 1850, at Molno Harbour on South Island, a seal hunter supposedly found some moa bones with flesh still attached to them, meaning they were new. However, tragically, nothing seems to have come from this sighting. The bones don't seem to have been preserved, photographed or even documented, but if that could emerge, it would be amazing. But it doesn't end there. In the 1850s, more moas were reported from South Island, and on that very same island on an 1858 evening, a moa, once again cited as being 14 feet, was supposedly chased into a cave by some miners who were pursuing it. They didn't press the attack, but the next morning they allegedly went back there and found a young baby bird, covered in yellow down, approximately a goose's size, and allegedly exhibited it to others for a shilling each. It's not recorded if they returned it to its mother, and I hope they did because some humans can sometimes be stupid that way, but in 1859, only a year later, 4 migrants from England were heading to the Takaka Hill Range, then returned, one day, very agitated. They claimed they'd been looking for jobs, but instead had the job of running away from an enormous bird standing at the entrance to a cave, or some kind of natural opening. They said it was around 9 feet tall and brown, there was a red mark around its eye, and that it was huge. These people had never even heard of a moa, and had only just come from England. As if to reinforce their encounter, in 1860, a shepherd called James Cameron took up the job on the Manapori Run, a man from Scotland, we have to say, so not one familiar with the area or the alleged encounters. One day, while on the east bank of the Waio River, he saw a massive bird on the other side. And in very quick succession, to compound this, in January of the very next year, fresh-looking 3-toed prints, 14 inches long, were discovered in a mountain region that exists between Takaka and Riwaka, yes, once again on South Island, by a surveying party. And these sightings go on and on and on and on, so much so that we actually skip to this encounter in 1878, when, as things escalated, several people actually said they saw a silver grey bird, much larger than an emu, on a South Island station. Yep, it was actually brave enough to come onto a station, and if you're thinking it ended there, it didn't. In 1896, some schoolboys said they saw a moa cross the road on guess where? South Island. In 1928, Jules Berg and Awawata Bill, near Lake Wigeon, set up camp near an inlet to have some fun, and Jules claimed that he saw, in the dead of night, 3 birds, a metre tall, near his camp, finding footprints that, upon inspection, suggested a height of around 4 feet. In 1940, a woman called Miss Shell claimed she saw a moa from her car. In 1963, a scientist, who knows what he's talking about, reportedly saw a moa at Boulder Lake on South Island. In 1976, a pair of moa were again meant to have been seen on South Island. In May 1991, a hiker reported that he saw an enormous, dark-coloured bird. In 2007, a hiker took a blurry photo in the Fjordland region that could very, very well be a moa. And in 1994, a physician had found browsing damage on plants that looked very much like it could have been come from a human. And in 1994, a physician had found browsing damage on plants that looked very much like it could have come from a large animal, like a moa, meaning some actual physical evidence too, meaning the moa is very likely to continue to exist, right up until the present day. And I've had to truncate all these sightings down because there are a lot of them, too numerous to state, and all right up until now. So what could this moa be? I ask this question because it is, obviously, a moa, but could it be a real cryptid, as in a creature still alive? Some people think, oh, it's just an emu, and I can see why for the smaller birds, but the big ones, not a chance. Here's what I think's happening here. This is just my opinion only, of course. I think that people assume that just because of hunting and just because of new mammals, the moa is gone. After all, they think, just because no one's seen them, they're all gone, right? After all, nothing can survive thousands or even millions of years without any accounting. Until you remember that the coelacanth was caught off South Africa in 1938, after supposedly being extinct for 65 million years. The Terra skink lizard was rediscovered in 2016 after supposedly being extinct since 1870. The false mermaid weed, supposedly gone since 1916, was found once more. People need to be more open-minded, and just because official scientists say something, the same scientists who said we should hide away during COVID and not even see family members, even if it was causing suicides and depressions, are saying this. And scientists, contrary to the atheist version of life, are not infallible and can't displace God. My personal belief is that the moa is still here, it's still alive, and that in spite of diminishing, it's still around today, mostly in more remote locations, but still sometimes encountering people. However, do I want it to be discovered? That's another question. I think many people are very selfish, many human beings are very single-minded, many human beings are very ruthless. If the moa was discovered, I know for a fact that people would probably go with their TikTok cameras to try and document it, and their dogs would probably eat its eggs. I know that people would go on expeditions that would probably involve capturing one or killing one. Its habitats would be disturbed, maybe its young would be scared. I'm not really comfortable with the idea of people just zooming off and finding the moa. So I think it's probably best that the moa is not discovered, that it just carries on living its life in rural areas and mountainous areas and forests. It does its own thing, we do ours. If someone finds a dead one and brings it back and shows it to the world, that's one thing. But to actively go out and bring in live ones, I think they're probably a population that's precarious. Not so much rare, but precarious, and I really don't think they should be disturbed like that. But what do you guys think? Have any of you ever seen a moa? Do you know anyone who has? Do you know anyone linked to these encounters, or even anyone still alive that I could talk to? Please post that in the comments below. I would love to read that. And leave me a suggestion. What do you think the next episode should be? And stay tuned for the next one.